Benchwarmers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins with Alvin Hebert.
Back at it.
And Andrew Lara.
Football is back.
Football is back. Week 1 wrapped up last night with 2 Monday night games, which were good for a half and then turned into blowouts. Started off Thursday night, Eagles getting their rings and unveiling their champion banner, and then kind of shutting down that Falcons offense again because they did the same thing in the playoffs last year. The Falcons just cannot get rolling with Sarkisian as their offensive coordinator. They're, as every week goes, you'll have some surprises, some not surprises, and some pretty good quarterback play. Which part of the surprising is Fitzpatrick's magical game against the Saints, or as Cutter said after the game, it was Fitz magic, because they put 48 up on the Saints, who was my pick to win the Super Bowl. Still are, because it's only week 1. I don't want to overreact. That's like the hardest thing to do after week 1 is to not overreact to things.
Especially in fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy football.
Poor Alvin.
That overreact. Let me pick up Fitzpatrick from the wire.
Yeah,
I thought about it.
All three of my fantasy quarterbacks that I have in our league did terribly. So I'm like, well, I guess one of these guys has to pull it out. But I'm thinking of making at least a backup adjustment. So starting off, San Antonio, as we did last year, we focused a lot on Cowboys and Texans football. And what was the biggest, I can't think of the word. What was the biggest thing that y'all saw in the Cowboys game? Like, Andrew?
It was a giant lull.
It was pretty much like the same stuff that we had problems with last year, that we were saying that they weren't changing up their game plans throughout the game. They stayed to the same cookie cutter plays. And
yeah, I think that was my theme of last year.
Also, they gave up on the run early with Ezekiel Elliott. I think he only had 15 touches the whole entire game, something like that.
I know he gave me 36 yards.
He had 15 carries and 3 catches. So he had a total of 69 rushing yards and 17 receiving yards. But, if the Cowboys are going to be good this year, Zeke needs to be putting up those 100-plus yard, all-purpose yard games.
You got to stick with them and let them get them.
Yeah. I mean, Dak had an all-right game. He was 19 of 29 for 170. But the thing is that he got sacked 6 times.
Yeah, that Cowboys O-line wasn't what we expect him to be.
Well, not having Fredericks is a big deal. They're starting Connor Williams, I think, right now at one of the guard spots. I'm not sure if he's right or left. And so you have the rookie. You don't have your starting center. That kind of screws everything up. With schemes and being able to call out what kind of pass protections you need, and even helping the run with the blocking. But, they picked up guys for specific purposes. That's the reason you let go of somebody like Dez, is they wanted to go into a more Dak central passing game where he can spread the ball out like he did his rookie year. He can
spread offense.
Yeah, he can. Well, not necessarily a spread offense, because there's not a lot of deep balls that you want to be throwing with him. But you want to hit, Allen Hurns 5 times, Cole Beasley 5 times, get the tight end involved.
Speaking of Dez, you heard about his burner accounts, apparently? His alleged burner accounts?
No.
Yeah,
I saw something about Bleacher Report was bringing it up.
I saw that he had quite a few.
Did you look into it, or?
I did. I saw the the notification on my phone, but I didn't look into it because I saw this Des Bryant.
Yeah, I'm so over the Des Bryant thing. Like,
Poor guy needs a job.
well, he stands in his own way on that because it's one of those things where football, father time catches up with you a lot quicker than you expected. And he's not to.
But I blame him for that because a team did offer him some contract and he turned it down.
Yeah, he could have been with the Ravens.
Yeah.
It's because he was replying to his own tweets from the same account. It was his account saying, the problem was my ex-teammates respect me more than the coaches. And then he retweeted himself saying, I can see that.
He's a lonely guy.
Des Bryant going full burner account.
Yeah, but what you kind of said about coaching and the plays that they were running, that was my theme of last NFL season is you have so many bad coaches. Like you can see a lot of bad schemes, and then they don't adjust when something doesn't work. They just keep banging their heads against the wall.
That 3rd and 12 screen pass.
Well, I mean, yeah.
We're not falling for it.
And sometimes it works, but if you do it,
every third down,
every
third and long,
every like a fourth of the time on third and long, then they're going to be ready for it. Like it has
predictable.
To be, it has to be something that you kind of throw in there every now and then. That you've been running these 10-yard post patterns and go routes, and
you throw it in once a week. That's all you need, just once a week.
And so it's the same problem that I have with the Lions is everybody heaps praise on Jim Bob Cooter for what he was able to do with Stafford, but what he did with Stafford was just give him, break him down to the basics. And now, everything, they don't score points in the first 3 quarters. I mean, last night they didn't score points in the last quarter and a half. But you can see, the first half they had 10 points, and they just couldn't move the ball against a Jets team that after the game said that they knew everything the Lions were doing because it was the same formations and the same stuff they did last year. And that's not good coaching. And it's the same thing that what happened last year that happened the year before, where there's the stat where Matt Stafford leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks in the last, since he's been in the NFL, and that's because in the last 2 years, they're down in every fourth quarter. 2 years ago, they went 8-8 in all 8 of their wins, or every game they were trailing in the fourth quarter, and they go no huddle, they open up the playbook more, and then that's when the offense looks good. And it's a coaching thing where if they go into a huddle and they try to design a play to make it set up, and they just can't do it. And that's how it seemed with the Cowboys too, and a couple other teams like the Falcons. Their offense is way too talented to be held to 12 points.
That Matt Ryan.
Julio Jones and Matt Ryan
cold as ice.
are one.
Dude, that opening
one
drive.
20. The last 20 targets to Julio Jones in the red zone has resulted in 1 catch.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that throw though.
And there were some bad throws, bad decisions of the throw. He, on the final play, if that's what you're talking about, instead of throwing a back shoulder where Julio Jones can use his frame to block the defensive back and get to the pylon, he throws a fade to the back of the end zone and forces Julio Jones to have to jump up for it and battle a corner where, you can make that throw easier on Julio if you throw it correctly. Think about how Brady and Gronk, how they operate. You very rarely see Brady throw to Gronk that's within the 20 yards. You rarely see him throw over the top because he knows that there's typically going to be the safety help. He throws to the back shoulder. He throws it to a spot where he knows that Gronk can turn around, body up, and it just makes it an easier catch for Gronk. Where Matt Ryan just hasn't mastered that yet. He hasn't mastered that back shoulder throw. So, anything else that y'all want to touch on with the Cowboys?
I just don't understand the whole Jason Garrett.
Yeah,
that's a good nickname right there.
Carrot, yeah. I don't understand like how Jerry Jones is like so like full backing him.
Because he's a lapdog.
I know that, but like,
I think it's a little bit that, but it's also a little bit that Jerry Jones has so many times been at the end of scrutiny when it comes to firing a coach. Think about how the end of Parcells went. Think about how Jimmy Johnson went. Wade Phillips, I think he needed to be fired because it's the same reason why I thought Jim Caldwell needed to be fired by the Lions. Is you need to find a new message at some point.
Exactly why I felt like Jason Garrett should have been gone a couple years ago.
Yeah, you have to find a new message with the team sometimes, and it also goes down to the players accepting the new voice. And maybe it's Jason Garrett so loved by the players that he's kept his job for this long because he is kind of a player's coach since he was a player. But they need to fix something offensively because their defense was actually really good in that game.
Yeah, they let that defense down.
Holding Carolina only to 16 when the Cowboys had. The Cowboys had a total of 232 yards, but they held Carolina to 293.
And they got a turnover. The Christian McCaffrey fumble.
Yeah, so
that was the only turnover.
There were enough plays made defensively that the Cowboys could have capitalized on. There was the missed field goal that happened, and a lot of people were like, "Why did you cut Dan Bailey, who's the second most accurate kicker in NFL history?"
I don't understand.
Just to save some money, like. How much are you paying your fucking kicker that you have to save money?
He did get a pay raise a couple years ago.
Again, how much are you paying your kicker? You're not paying him.
I can't recall.
Quarterback, running back money. Like you're not. I'm sure it was like $4 million a year.
It had to be something around that ballpark.
But they made some personnel decisions that in week 1 looked like it kind of bit them in the ass. But they went up against Carolina, who is one of the favorites to at least make the playoffs. A team that was in the playoffs last year, Super Bowl a few years ago. Like they have a talented team and a very, very solid defense. So it's not like they put up 8 points against the Bills, who just are
we don't want to talk about
dumpster fire.
That's already.
How many plays did AJ McCarron was out for, and then they put in Allen?
Well, I don't know. I thought McCarron was hurt. I don't know if did McCarron actually get play time because Peterman's the starter.
Or Peterman. I'm sorry.
Nathan Peterman is the worst starting quarterback in NFL history.
I mean, he got pulled super quick though.
He was 5 of 18 with 2 interceptions and got sacked 3 times. His QBR was 0.7.
And that's the guy who you put in for Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah. That was another thing, like I just said with the Cowboys, where they made some personnel decisions that didn't really make sense. the Bills made some personnel decisions that made less sense than the Cowboys, because you make the playoffs for the first time this millennium, and you just say, we don't really want you as a quarterback anymore, who really worked well with LaShawn McCoy. He was able to do some things for Buffalo that neither of these guys can. I think
he never had a receiver either, like a top end receiver to throw to at all.
Like Sammy Watkins was a bust. They traded for Benjamin last year, and they had some decent numbers, but he's not throwing to Julio Jones or AJ Green or Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't even think they have a tight end for him to use.
Charles Clay.
They don't.
Charles Clay.
Oh, he was getting hurt for a while.
Yeah.
So they made some poor decisions, and I do think that if Josh Allen is strong-headed enough to or hard-headed enough to just ignore how bad he's going to be the first couple of years with this team, he's the perfect type of quarterback to play in Buffalo. Just think about the types of games that you're going to see in November, December, and January in Buffalo. You're going to see some snowy, cold weather, windy games, and he has the arm strength to cut through it, and he's decently athletic to get outside of the pocket and make something happen. But I believe with all rookie quarterbacks, you have to set things up around them to succeed. You're not going to get somebody who's going to come right in and just be, a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league. That's just not going to happen. You have to have a plan in place for them to take their baby steps into understanding how quick NFL defenses are, how good NFL cornerbacks and safeties are, how strong linebackers and defensive tackles are. You don't just, especially when he went to Wyoming, he's not seeing
who is he playing against?
Yeah, he's not seeing the defense of the Ravens ever. Not even the Alabama defense is the Ravens defense. So there will be some growing pains, and after that manslaughter that the Ravens laid down on them, I really just think that the Bills need to buy into sucking. They just need to just embrace what they are and just
lose every game.
Just start Allen going forward, because Peterman is a train wreck.
I thought you was going to say start Peterman.
No. You
stick with it. Stick with the decision.
You cut him today, because he's absolutely garbage. And
this ain't no PC stuff where people are on ESPN talking about we're not all about people losing their money. Nah, fuck that. You suck. You don't belong in the league.
You have to pay me for watching that shit.
Yeah, so there are many quarterbacks that can play in the NFL better than Peterman. A perfect example right there.
I had something in my throat. I'm sorry.
But they already got rid of a player who plays similar to Cap. So obviously they don't want to go in that route. But yeah, they were a train wreck. They were by far the worst team in the league this weekend. But I don't think anybody expected the Bills to win more than 5 games this year.
Are they even going to win one?
They'll win one. They play the Browns. They'll split.
The Browns.
No, they don't split the Browns. They play. No, because the Jets are probably going to be better than expected. The Dolphins are decent, so they could beat the Dolphins, I think. If LaShawn McCoy has a good game, you can expect 1 or 2 games that LaShawn McCoy will run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Like Jamie Foxx any given Sunday.
So on to the other Texas team. The Texans lost to the Patriots 27-20. in a game that was
think-
really just handled by the Patriots for the most part. Like, it never really seemed like the Texans were in the game, especially when their like first snap, Deshaun Watson messed up the either it was a handoff. It was one of those run pass options where I think the running back thought that it was going to there was going to be a handoff, so he held on to the delivery. So Gumbo's barking at the person delivering.
Get that mailman out of here.
He held on to the ball longer while Deshaun was trying to pull it out, and it just caused the fumble. Patriots picked it up. The Gronk touchdown, they had him double covered, and it was a ball that should have been probably should have been intercepted, but for whatever reason, when you double cover Gronk or really anybody with a safety and a cornerback or linebacker or whoever, the linebacker cornerback should make sure that they're covering
the front
toward the front where the safety gets the top, and you kind of bracket the receiver. Well, the person covering Gronk got on top of Gronk and was kind of playing in that same safety role, and by the time that the ball was in the air and he was trying to make a play, he slipped. But if he's just playing his, if he was in his position the way he should have been in front of Gronk, like let Gronk go past him and then just run with Gronk while like staying behind because the safety's over the top. The safety got there to make a play, but where the ball was thrown was to the back where the person covering Gronk that should be there wasn't. So it was just...
It's a simple cover 2-man defense. You got the bottom because you got overtop.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just... It was a play that shouldn't have happened if the defense plays it properly.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't played properly, and it led to... it led to a touchdown, and the Texans scored one late. Deshaun Watson just never looked right in that game. It looked like he might have started figuring things out later, but when I picked this game before the season started, I picked Houston to win because I expect Houston's offense to be damn good.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're all in agreement that Deshaun Watson should be able to do similar type things that he did last year. But for whatever reason, I'm like, oh, well, he's had all off season and all this stuff, and he should be ready to go. But when your first game playing like when your first game back in the regular season is in Foxborough, you're
gonna look bad.
Yeah, I should have known that he was gonna look rusty. He missed some throws he normally would make, and.
Well, I can't even say that normally would make because he only played one season so far. So
well, I mean, I watched him enough in college to know the types of throws he can make too.
That's college. We're in the NFL now.
I mean, it's just pretty much the same ball. Like the ball's a little different.
You gotta get 2 feet in instead of 1.
Yeah, but he was missing some
Sometimes
10, 15.
they could be deflated. Sometimes they're not.
Oh yeah, what about that fucking
The Steelers thing?
No, the Falcons. The Julio Jones catch not catch. We already have a fucking.
Oh yeah.
We already have a controversy.
We had
I thought
a
that was a
couple.
catch.
No, because
It was a
then
fucking catch. The ball never touched the ground.
There was the Gronk one that the booth should have challenged. There was one last night in the Jets game where Anua caught it on third down, but it looked like he dropped the ball. Ball hit the ground. Should have been an incomplete pass, but they just said the call stands.
I don't understand that. They went from that to saying that stands, and then the Julio Jones one.
Yeah.
Well, they said with the Julio Jones one, there wasn't conclusive evidence to overturn.
Well, see, that's what they're gonna say with every single one. Like
that's because a scapegoat.
Yeah. We can't tell for sure. Sorry, we don't know what the catch is still.
Yeah. So that's I think there were like
Such
3 or
bullshit,
4
dude.
plays in the first week that kind of showed that they're still having issues with the catch.
I don't know what
It's
it is.
2018. We're going to Super Bowl 53, and we still don't know what a catch is.
I don't know. I think that a lot of people say it, but I think that they should. There's people who say that there should be the rule where it's like the sports bar rule, where it's like if you don't know if it's a catch or not, you like go to a live feed of just like a sports bar where everybody's watching the game and
Watch their reactions.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Typically, you're like, oh yeah, that's a catch. Like, like. Because they're watching the game too, and they're just gonna shout it out. They're not gonna have to try to figure out if it's conclusive or not. Like, you should be able to like.
They say it's conclusive.
Yeah. It's that Julio Jones one changes that game. The Jets Lions one changes that game, and the Gronk one changes that game. Like every one of those plays, like had they ruled the other way around, because I can't remember the score on the Julio Jones one, but like
I think the Julio Jones one was early in the game.
but that was still
No, that one was like third quarter, third or fourth.
Third quarter.
The second half for sure.
But yeah, there was like I think it was on like a third down too, where they threw that pass and it flips field position and it gets Atlanta still driving. I mean, they have their red zone struggles, and it's hard to say that.
Struggled in all caps. This shit's ridiculous.
It's not relaxed.
They
No.
So it's not a guarantee that they would have scored that possession, but they would have been in field goal range at least.
And they would have lost the ball because they would go for it, and they'd still end up
But
with no
like
points.
with the Gronk one, it was right before half. Had the booth challenge went to review, overruled it. Then they probably don't have to settle for a field goal instead of scoring their second touchdown. So instead of being, I think it was 14-6 at the half for the Texans, instead of it being 14-6, it would have been 7-6, which changes how part of the second half might be played. Because the Texans could have got the ball back with time to spare and drove down and got a field goal. So I don't like to sit there and say this one play would have changed the outcome of the game, but these plays they kind of changed the cascading events that did ensue. So it's the Jets Lions one. It was a third down conversion. So had they actually ruled it an incomplete pass, they would have had to settle for a field goal instead of I believe they scored a touchdown on that possession. So all of these plays, they changed the cascading of events, and you don't know what the final outcome would end up being. The only way that happens is if it is on the very final play of the game. Were there any standouts for y'all in the Texans-Patriots game? Like, what y'all saw? If y'all watched the Texans game, like, what stood out? Any other reviews of that game that y'all have?
No, I mean, it's pretty much...
It just looked like...
I expected more, but then thinking about where they're playing, you're like, you can't really expect too much coming out of Foxborough. But...
And not having Will Fuller too, which I think changes the way that offense looks.
Probably better to get a better analysis after week 2.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of teams where week 4 will, like, after week 4
you should start seeing who the teams
you'll
are.
you'll know what these teams actually are. Again, as I said earlier, like it's week 1, and like I was watching the Saints game, and I was like having to make sure I had kept telling myself it's week 1, like don't overreact. Like this team is better than this. Like
especially that defense is better.
Yeah, the defense is better than that. The Bucks played a perfect game, and the Saints had 2 miscues pretty much that entire game. The 2 miscues, Gillislee fumbles, gets returned for a touchdown, and then on the Saints' second possession of the second half, they're driving down the field and they hit Michael Thomas for like 15 yards and he fumbles and turns it over. So both turnovers that they had turned into Bucks touchdowns. And then even on the last play of the game, pretty much, it was a 3rd and 11. And this goes to the point that I said earlier about how the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, for the Saints didn't make the right play calls, where the Bucks just were able to pick apart that defense because they couldn't get pressure on Fitzpatrick. They ran man all game. Well, on a 3rd and 11, where you have to have a stop, if they get a first down, you lose. He rushes 4, drops 7, but doesn't have anybody spy the quarterback. Like, that's where you rush 3, have a QB spy.
They weren't zoned either. They were manned up all day.
So everybody went past the sticks. All the guys went back, and Fitzpatrick was able to run for the first down because the defensive end broke containment. So, like, you always have to have a spy there, especially for a guy that can actually run. Like, if that's Brady, don't spy. Like, you have an option of chasing him down.
I honestly didn't know if Fitzpatrick could run.
Yeah, he's not. He's not.
He looks like a grizzly bear.
He's not Alex Smith.
I don't know who I was listening to.
Like,
they were talking about Fitzpatrick. Like, you give him 10 weeks to fucking study, that Ivy League mind's gonna kick in.
Yeah. So there were.
Well, because I was saying, like, I was texting my cousins. I was all like, Fitzpatrick has had openers where he's balled out. Like, he's done it in Buffalo where he's balled out a few the first few games. He did it with the New York Jets where he balled out a few games, and now he's doing it with the Buccaneers. It's just, can he keep it throughout the whole entire season? Is the usual thing is that he totally falls off to what he normally is. But, like, he's had moments where he's had games where he's balled out.
Seasons where he was really good. There was a Jets season where I think he led them to like a 10-6 record and set the Jets single season record for touchdown passes, and passing yards, I think.
That's with nobody on the Jets. You know what I'm saying?
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a professional backup that you want to have. Like, I thought the same thing about Derek Anderson for Carolina. Like, when Cam went down, Derek Anderson had been a starter, was good enough to come in and win a couple games.
Old man Anderson, bro.
I mean, I don't think he's the backup anymore, but there.
Well, Josh McCown.
Yeah, there are backup quarterbacks that you just love to have because if anything does happen, they're good enough to go on a little run. Matt Schaub was the same way for a while. And so it was just, I don't think that defense is that bad. Fitzpatrick was putting balls on the money, 56 yards on the tee, like.
Yeah.
He missed. I think he there was like one.
He was putting lasers.
One inaccurate pass on one of the deep balls of that would have led to a touchdown if he led Deshaun Jackson out. He underthrew it a little bit, so Deshaun Jackson had to slow down to catch it. But they went deep against the man and just. I think it's something the Saints need to adjust to. If they're going to try to run that defense every time.
I don't know why you're going to run man. Like, Buccaneers got burners.
Yeah,
on their side.
like that's
Like
what they.
The only person that you got that could possibly like keep up is Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah,
All the other DBs on the Saints, they're not that fast to keep up with those burners.
yeah.
Not even Mike Evans, and Mike Evans is not that fast. He's just,
Mike Evans is sneaky fast.
he's quick. He got the quickness.
I think he ran like a 4.4 in the 40.
I'll have to look that up.
Oh.
So some of the other games, with those Eagles beat the Falcons.
Are we going to talk about the Steelers or Browns?
I was just about to say. So
They tied.
Our first tie of the season
I
is
think
in
the
week 1.
God damn.
I think the worst part about that is it's the best start to a season the Browns have had since 04.
And they are talking about it a lot.
Like
They want you to know this is their best start.
Yeah, they had lost every season opener since 04. Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And they tied. So also, on top of that, since it's their best start...
So does that mean Bud Light like half opened the locks on those fridges or
No.
what?
It has to be the win. They put an end to their losing streak, not by winning
With a tie.
but by getting a tie.
You know what was so sad about that? Both teams had a chance to win.
The Browns had
That
multiple
game.
chances.
What was that missed field goal? Like, oh
Yeah,
my God.
Boswell, who hit, I think, 4 straight games last year for the Steelers, won it for them on a last-second kick. Like, he had been money in game-winning field goal situations last year, and he pulls one left.
I tell you what, somebody's calling Dan Bailey right now. Like, get it.
And then the
there.
Browns with 20 seconds left, TJ Watt blocks their field goal that would have won it. And it's like there's so many stupid things because that field goal doesn't get blocked if the Browns player doesn't stupidly do the block in the back at the end of the interception return. Like, there was no reason to block in the back there because the guy was running out of bounds and was going to get tackled there anyways. So you don't need to block the guy in the back, which backed them up and led to a longer field goal. And then at the end of the fourth quarter, I think they got a punt and they were driving down and they were close to field goal range, and then Tyrod Taylor throws a terrible deep ball to Josh Gordon, underthrows it by like 6 yards, and it gets picked off. So like, it was one of those games where neither team wanted to win and neither team wanted to lose, so they just kind of were like, all right, we'll tie.
Let's get to the bar early.
I couldn't.
Hell yeah.
When Boswell missed his field goal, I was like, how the hell is there only like a minute 45 left in overtime? Where did the rest of overtime go? Like, I couldn't believe how quickly that overtime seemed to go.
I can't believe we still have a tie.
The
Like,
tie
that's
system.
an option.
Well, they don't want to have to play more than one overtime if they're gonna keep it this way, and part of the big criticism of not changing it is that they don't want to go to like college rules, because then you're taking out a lot of what makes the NFL. So you are expecting one team to at least be able to get into field goal position and make a field goal within the 15 minutes of the quarter.
They should do like soccer rules.
Penalty kicks?
No, not penalty kicks. You get two like half quarters, and then
Before they even go to penalty kicks.
yeah.
Yeah, see, I think maybe if you can do something like that, or keep the same like full quarter, and then at the end of it go to the college rules where each team gets the ball on the 25-yard line, and then go from there.
I just say put it on the 25-yard line. Do the soccer rule where the two halves, but instead 2-minute drills. Let's go. 25-yard line, 2-minute drill. Let's get it. Get downfield as quick as possible. That's the way you cut down so where it's not like dragging on forever.
I think that the way that they have it is still the best way. I think it was just one of those. The ties come in unfortunate like times,
like season openers.
well, it's just like both the weather was garbage. There it was windy and rainy, so kicking a field goal was harder than it normally would be in the NFL. You expect NFL kickers to be able to, make the field goals, but neither. Like it was just, I'm okay with ties in football. Like it doesn't. I'm okay with ties in soccer. It doesn't bother me that neither team was able to score in the overtime period because I don't think either team deserved to get a win for that.
Well, with soccer, I think if you get a draw, a tie, it's either you get 1 point or 0.
You get 1 point like in a group play.
Yeah,
but in the NFL,
you get nothing.
No, you do though. It comes in win percentage because instead of like if one of these teams instead of going 8-8, they go 8-7-1, and a wild card team went 8-8. The 8-7-1 team gets to go into the playoffs because they have one less loss. So that tie that they had at the beginning of the season actually helped them because they didn't lose the game, whereas another team did. So if one team went 9-7, and then one of these teams goes 8-7-1. The 9-7 team goes to the playoffs. So you don't get you don't get like a point or a win, but since it doesn't go in the loss column, the win percentage is off of the 8-6 and not off of the 8-7 and not the 8-8. So since 8-7 is greater than 500, you get to advance in that situation. So yeah, I'm okay with the tie. One of the other another game that happened was the return of Andrew Luck after God knows how long ago. And he looked really good. He looked better than I was expecting in the first game of the season because his average depth of target in the preseason was like 7 yards. They weren't letting him throw the ball downfield, and he made some throws in this game that like made it look like he's maybe not there quite yet, but you can at least have faith that he's going to be able to play out the next 10 years or however long he plays. So he's going to be fine in the long run. So it was good to see him play well. The Bengals, who I thought would win the game, I just didn't think that their offense would look this good. I just thought the Colts were going to be bad. Like I expected this game to be like 14-10, not 34-23. AJ Green did AJ Green things. John Ross looked like he was going to be the weapon that they drafted in the top 10 last year. So the Bengals look like they're going to be better than I expected them to be going forward. They are in, I think, a pretty tough division because they'll have to face the Steelers, who, if the Steelers just pull their head out of their asses, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. The only problem is they like to shove it up there so many times.
If Big Ben's not throwing 3 interceptions a game,
that was a lot.
Yeah, he definitely seems on the decline in his career. We had the longest NFL game ever with the Titans-Dolphins, a game that started at noon Central Time and ended at 7 Central Time.
those the
2 rain delays.
Yeah.
And then, the Titans had the Delaney Walker injury, lost him for the year. Mariota got hurt, so they had to put in who's their backup quarterback? remember who their backup is. Oh, Blaine Gabbert. And we all know how successful he was. And then they also, Taylor Lewan, their starting left tackle, got hurt too. And the Dolphins they took advantage of the injuries and Tannehill's return back to the NFL from injury last year. Took that game at home. Alex Smith, Case Keenum, Kirk Cousins, all with the new teams, all played outstanding in their first game with their new team, all getting wins. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think we need to same thing. It's the overreaction thing. We don't need to overreact saying that he's trash or he's not. He played the Vikings defense.
At least he put up some yards, I guess.
Yeah, so he ended the game.
It was like a touchdown and like 2 interceptions or something like that.
He was 15 of 33 for 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, a 10.6 QBR. But, I mean, they couldn't run the ball.
That Vikings defense, bro, like, every single one of them, like, Harrison Smith balled out.
Yeah.
Griffin, you could say he balled out.
Zendeo.
Yeah.
He's
Xavier Rhodes.
And then I think his name is Mike Hughes. He got one of the interceptions.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Vikings took care of business. They're, depending on how Aaron Rodgers looks going forward, the Vikings will probably win that division. Alex Smith for the Redskins playing the Cardinals, who aren't the same as they were a few years ago. He went 21 of 30 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then Adrian Peterson almost ran for 100 yards and got the touchdown.
Well, he got
he looked really
166 yards of total offense, I believe.
What did he have in the receiving game? Oh, yeah, because he had the 52-yard catch.
Yep.
Yeah, so he had, the 166 total yards. The game of the week was probably the Bears-Packers game. The Bears, first half, they were phenomenal defensively.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
First half.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the second quarter, and that's when Khalil Mack just said, "Gimme that" to Deshaun Kaiser, and got the interception off of him as well. So took advantage of the backup, but they were up 20-0 into the fourth quarter, I think. I want to see I don't know when the Packers scored their...
And we got to notate, I think Khalil Mack was not playing in the second half, right?
He played limited minutes.
Yeah,
limited snaps, because he was on the field for the Randall Cobb touchdown, the 75-yard touchdown. But Aaron Rodgers coming back from that injury, which when I saw the replay, it looked like it could have been like an ACL injury. He threw a pass that very few quarterbacks can throw. Especially on, the one leg.
One leg.
He threw...
Was it the 75-yard?
No. The 75-yarder was he threw Randall Cobb open. Randall Cobb was running across the middle. He stopped, had the linebacker on one side. Rodgers threw it back to the other side and gave Cobb the running room. But he threw a 39-yard pass. I think it probably went something close to 45 yards in the air. He threw it with a 50-degree angle that just dropped into Geronimo Allison's hands in the back of the end zone. You can't throw a better pass than that. He threw it with enough arc that the cornerback couldn't jump up to try to deflect it. It was the prettiest pass of the of the weekend, as good as Mahomes looked too, because Mahomes looked damn good.
Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, man, they're gonna be
like
one
that's
hell
the
of a
thing
duo.
that people have to realize with this Kansas City offense after this week is Tyreek Hill scored 3 touchdowns and had all the yards and all this. They didn't use Travis Kelce. They didn't use Kareem Hunt as much as they could. So it's like, so next week, whoever the Chiefs play are like, all right, well, we need to make sure we don't let Tyreek Hill get going, because once he's in space, nobody's in the league is catching him. The only people in the league fast enough to catch him play wide receiver. So then that's when, you have to worry about Kareem Hunt running the ball, Travis Kelce controlling the middle of the field and coming on those little pop passes that they like to run with the options and stuff. And I mean, the Chargers defense is good. They missed Joey Bosa. They couldn't get any pressure on Mahomes. But Mahomes only completed 15 passes and had 4 touchdowns.
Off of 15 throws. Or passes completion.
Yeah. So, I mean, he looks... The Chiefs' offense looks like it could be the best in the league.
That's why they was not signing Alex Smith to an extension. It was like, we got our future right here.
Yeah, we don't need you.
We're good here, yeah.
We actually want to throw the ball.
Last game I want to touch on, it was the last Monday night game, Rams-Raiders. Started off hot, beast mode activated. Raiders stayed in the game through the first half.
And then Rams turned it on. And see, I love that Marcus Peters interception, pick 6, and then he did his cousin's.
Grab my dick.
Yeah, he did.
Pull my dick, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, hell yeah.
If people didn't know, they were cousins. They are cousins, I mean.
So the Rams are going to run away with their division. The Raiders need to figure out what they're going to do with their life.
Yo, Derek Carr, that interception that he just it was right to, who was it, Joyner, I think it was? Or
he threw 3. There was one, I think it was late in the game, where he was about to get sacked and he had to throw something up and it just lollipopped out there. I think his arm was hit or the ball was deflected or something. One of the ones that he threw was a good play by Peters.
Yeah,
Peters broke on that ball.
Yeah.
But then, there was that third one that...
It was right to the Rams defender. It was right to him.
You mean I can have this?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's another one of those where the Raiders' offense looked like a thing of the past. It was another one of those, the coaching schemes, the offensive coordinator, something just didn't seem to go well.
To me, it just looked like the Rams' defense just took a while to get ramped up, and then once they got ramped up, it was game over.
Yeah, Todd Gurley did Todd Gurley things.
Brandon Cooks
Looked good. Yeah, I mean, the Rams are probably going somewhere in the 11-5 range, and then running away with that division. Are there any other standouts of Week 1 that y'all would like to talk about before we get to On Fire, Endire, and Prophecy?
John Connor looks very solid, so
yeah, it did.
The Pittsburgh Steelers was like, all right, Le'Veon.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, Le'Veon, just go
Have
ahead.
fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
You're not. We're taking money from you, but hey.
Yeah. They didn't use him enough late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter and overtime at all. I think all of his yards came in the first 3 quarters. Andrew, any standouts, duds, any other Week 1 observations you would like to touch on?
No, I think we covered. I'm looking over them right now.
Just get into the Fire and Dire. and then prophesize for the people?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, then lead off with your fire.
my fire. I mean, don't you want to hold off till the fourth quarter? I got Aaron Rodgers in the clutch on his one leg.
The relax. I'm back.
Dude,
Back.
that was ridiculous.
That's like what I don't want to say, but like Paul Pierce. that reminded me of the Paul Pierce situation. It was just like, oh no, wheelchair. He got
Carted off the field.
yeah, and then like
back.
just like came back like, hold my beer, watch this.
Yeah. It's. I don't know if anything has been ruled about what kind of leg injury he has.
I just know it was. I thought it was his knee that was hurt.
So I don't. There's talk to maybe rule him out, like hold him out this Sunday because they play the Vikings. We all know what happened to him against the Vikings last year. So just like start Kaiser, take the L, but hopefully win in the long run because you give him a week off to heal, and then
Don't even practice, bro. Just like
You know he's going to.
I know.
Yeah.
You know he's going to.
He's not even going to practice all week, but still play.
He's going to practice. He's going to... Yeah, he probably won't
He's
practice.
just going to do
Well,
the
so
walkers.
they
He'll
play
be back on Thursday.
So they play the Vikings next week, but then they have Redskins, Bills, Lions, 49ers. He could probably play all of those games and be fine and not worry about getting hurt.
Yeah.
Like
After the Vikings game.
yeah, so and
So you think that fourth quarter comeback was just off of like adrenaline?
definitely.
I can't feel this shit. Let's fucking
there's
sling it.
There's
Put that big needle
the
in my knee.
cortisone shot, the miracle like Bengay numbing rub and all that, and I mean his arm talent is
They had Mr. Miyagi in there, like
up there with anybody in the league. Like people have to go to him with arm talent.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not like he needs his that leg 100% to throw the ball that he to throw the ball to Randall Cobb that he did. It was just 10 yards. I think it was even shorter than that. I think it might have been like 7 yards to Randall Cobb where he can just use all arm on that throw and get it there. So
How do you feel about all these new? Or I mean, it's not new. It's been brought up, but it's coming back already. Week one. There's all these GOAT talks.
for Rodgers?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say he's kind of in the same boat that LeBron is in. Is like y'all know that Peyton Manning's the GOAT quarterback to me because of because of one, all the stats, what he meant to the position, how he revolutionized it, and everybody wants to go rings with Tom Brady and team success. Peyton still has all of the other records. Brady doesn't have one record other than wins in Super Bowls on Manning.
But does anything else really matter?
If you're trying to say who's the best quarterback, you're isolating that one position and all that goes into that position. Yes. When you're talking about who played on the greatest teams, who had the better career, that's when you go into team success, and that's when you go into the ring argument. So it's silly to say, oh, well, Brady has 5 rings. I'm like, yeah, Bradshaw has 4, Aikman has 3, Elway has 2, Manning, Eli has 2, Joe Flacco has 1, Trent Dilfer has 1, Brad Johnson has 1. Like, winning a Super Bowl doesn't mean you're the best quarterback.
But winning 5?
and not lose.
He hasn't.
He lost 2.
Well,
He's lost 3.
Montana.
Yeah.
Won
all 5.
So Montana got 4. Because they got rid of him to start Steve Young in the 5th.
Oh, that's right.
Brady hasn't won a Super Bowl where he didn't have a top 8 defense. Trust me, I've gone through the stats. You can go. His first 3 Super Bowls, he was middle of the pack in yards and touchdowns. They didn't use him a lot. He had Corey Dillon to hand the ball off to, who was a 1,000+ yard runner, and he had a top 5 defense in all 3 of those years. And guess what? All 3 of those Super Bowls came down to having the greatest field goal kicker in the history of the sport, Adam Vinatieri. If they have any other kicker, you probably miss one of those at least.
Well, Peyton Manning would have won his solo one against the Bears if they didn't have horrible Rex Grossman.
He got 2. He got 1 in Denver.
What was his first one?
He went through the Patriots that year, so he probably does, yes.
I mean, if the Bears didn't have horrible Rex Grossman.
But I mean, to the point, like, even Peyton Manning's 2, I say he doesn't get 2 if... the Colts defense at playoffs. Bob Sanders looked like he was going to be a Hall of Fame safety. What
about the offense, too? The offense was stacked.
The offense was good, yeah. I mean, he had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, Edgerrin James, or Joseph Adai in that season.
That was a stacked fucking offense.
Well, so you had Dwight Freeney, Bob Sanders on defense.
Robert Mathis. Cato June. Yeah, I mean, they had, again... This goes to my point about the rings.
Would you say he was the best player on that team?
Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
By far. Because he made that offense. Like, I don't think Marvin Harrison is a Hall of Fame player, type player, if he has any other quarterback.
What if he had Tom Brady?
I don't think so.
That's hard to say because he hasn't played with any other quarterback.
But again, I don't think... Peyton Manning, so maybe Drew Brees, because look at what Drew Brees did with Marcus Colston.
Just who?
But these
Kenny Stills, and look what Kenny Stills is doing.
Willie Snead.
He got all of them paid.
Yeah.
Pierre Garçon. Think about what he was. Like who he was, and then he went to Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning said, "Look, this is how you're going to run a route. I'm going to throw the ball now, and you'll turn around, and the ball will be there."
But Pierre Garçon kind of continued that after Peyton.
A little bit for like two more seasons.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady's best year was with Randy Moss. Who do we have as the second best wide receiver of all time? Because I have Randy Moss as
Jerry Rice.
Second best. Jerry Rice is number 1.
I have Randy Moss as 1.
Oh, no, there's no way. No way in hell.
What?
No way in hell that Jerry Rice isn't number 1.
Huh?
Jerry Rice is like the greatest football player of all time. Like, better than everybody.
What?
The best of the best.
You do know Jerry Rice never quit on his team like Randy Moss did. He also leads in receiving touchdowns, receiving yards, Super Bowl wins if we're going to go off of rings, because apparently we like to go off of rings. Again, I wouldn't say the rings argument there. But Jerry Rice, they did sports science with him, and they went they used the football machine to throw him 50 passes in different spots. All 50, not one of them touched the palm. Everything was caught. Everything was all fingertips. And he didn't play in an era where they had gloves with the stick on.
Moss can't do that?
No, I don't think he can.
What?
See, I think y'all are the prisoners of our generation.
No,
because Randy Moss.
I've seen Jerry Rice play, and I've seen Randy Moss play, and I've seen Terrell Owens play.
I believe it. He's old.
Well, T.O. is the third best of the group.
I would agree. Yeah.
Randy Moss has a skill that Jerry Rice doesn't.
What about Larry Fitzgerald?
I would probably put
those hands.
Right there.
He's top 5 for sure.
Those hands.
And the consistency, like...
Yeah, he never gives up on anything.
And like he hasn't had quarterbacks
like either
Like
any
they
of
have,
them, like
yeah.
any of them.
just
Can't
Kurt
believe
Warner.
y'all are gonna have to make me come up with
This is just off of
fucking
one.
asinine.
This is just off of one fire topic.
At age 40, playing with Oakland, with Rich Gannon as its quarterback. At age 40, he had 92 receptions on 150 targets, 1,211 yards. 7 touchdowns. Age 40, Jerry Rice.
I mean, your hands don't lose muscle.
He had... now I have to go to the leaderboard. Now they're killing me. I can't believe I have to do this. While
I can't
do
believe
this,
it's this easy.
The timeout, because well, if y'all actually believe this, then it's this easy, because that's ridiculous. Alvin, go with your fire.
My fire, we touched on it a little bit. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic.
417 yards, 4 touchdowns against that Saints defense that's supposed to be at least a top 5 a top 5 defense, and he just shredded them.
I wouldn't put the Saints top 5, but they're definitely
Like, what other defense are you going to put? Like,
Eagles,
you
Eagles,
got
Vikings,
Rams.
Jags, Rams.
Would you put the Bears?
I think Carolina's is a little
Carolina,
better.
yeah.
But they're right there.
I think those are
they're,
toss-ups.
They're
Yeah.
right at the cusp of the fifth one, the fifth spot.
I think you could go either with the Bears, Panthers, or them. Like, you could have flip-flopped them any week.
So, back to Jerry Rice.
And we're back.
22,895 yards. 22,895 yards.
Yeah, we know he's
number 2.
Stats leader.
Number 2, T.O., 15,934. 7,000 more yards. 7,000. He played 19 seasons to T.O. and Randy Moss's 14. Either 20 or 15 or 19 and 14, because they were 85 to 04. Jerry Rice got all those yards in an era where you could kill receivers going over the middle. You could have your hands on them the entire route. Like, think of the era that he played in. He didn't play in
those two played in
the rules committee. They early in their season, early in their careers. The rules changed in 03. Like that 5 years into these guys.
Yeah, like 03 was like what?
96 was when Owens came out and Moss came into the league in 98. Jerry Rice played 85 to 04. And has 7,000 more yards.
And also played 5 more years than they did also.
You know that has them needing seasons of like 1,400 yards, right?
You think they wouldn't have got them if they...
You think it's that hard to do that?
For those two?
I know, as soon as I said that, I saw Casey's face say, what?
Do you know what, like, Randy Moss's best year got him like 1,400 yards. his best year got him 1,400 yards. I mean, I think he maybe was up to 1,700 because the Calvin Johnson year where he was close to breaking 2,000 and breaking Jerry Rice's all-time single-season yards record. The other stat that I wanted to get to on Jerry Rice, though, touchdowns. We can all we can all talk touchdowns, right? He's a receiver. In an era where, you're not handing the ball off on these weird screens to receivers. 208. Second, Emmitt Smith, 175. What is that? 33 more than number 2. And Emmitt played 5 less seasons. So he would have needed 6 a season at age, 40. Like, Jerry Rice put up numbers that you're never, ever going to see again. Like, you're going to see people breaking Peyton Manning's passing yards record because Drew Brees is about to do it if he hasn't done it yet. I know that they were right in the conversation there. But nobody's getting 208 career touchdowns. The closest person to him that's active is Antonio Gates, who needs 94 to tie. He needs to pretty much double what he has in his entire career to touch Jerry Rice. Shall I go on with how great Jerry Rice was?
And now, kids, I want you to write a 3-page essay on why you think Jerry Rice is the best. Bring that in.
Randy Moss is a clear number 2 to me, but it's like saying, let's see, who would be a good comparison? It'd be like saying Dwayne Wade is greater than LeBron.
That is not a good comparison.
That is the comparison.
That is not a good comparison.
Stats wise, Dwayne Wade's up there with stats, points per game, PER, all sorts of stuff like that. But how far away he is from LeBron is how far away Randy Moss is to Jerry Rice.
I feel that's a way wider gap.
But I also remember Jerry Rice playing in Oakland and Tennessee. I don't just think of him as the Minnesota, the couple years in New England. Like, I remember all his
oh yeah, I know his antics in Oakland and all that.
Quitting on teams,
just sitting on the bench there,
like
not going out on the field when he felt like it.
Yeah, so that also kind of bumps him down in the list. But talent-wise, Randy Moss is incredible. He's 6'4", runs like a 4.18 40. Like, there are things that he can do that nobody else had been able to do at that position.
He still runs like a gazelle.
And speaking of people who can run like a gazelle, my fire is Tyreek Hill. Senior Beep Beep. He put on the afterburners a couple times. And put up the peace sign.
That's just not like fair.
And he did he's done it a few times in his career. He's putting up numbers that are right there with Devin Hester as far as return numbers go. He's just, you give him a yard of space and at the wrong angle, you're done. Like, you're just done. He's scoring a touchdown. So yeah, he's my fire. 3 touchdowns, 200 total yards, 200 plus total yards. So we'll go on to Dyers. Andrew, you can lead off the Dyer again, and hopefully we don't go down the rabbit hole of me having to explain that Jerry Rice is the greatest football player ever.
What do you think Jerry Rice would be as good if he had my Dyer, Dak Prescott?
No, but I think Dak Prescott would look a hell of a lot better.
Shit. He just didn't look good. They were off target. And
he didn't even play the preseason, right?
I don't think so.
He didn't even play preseason.
Like, that was...
I don't know why.
That was the thing with, I think, the Cowboys, is that they held out everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think Zeke really played either. And it looked like they hadn't played in a while. So, yeah, Dak, I think, will end up looking better. Hopefully, the coaching staff will make some minor adjustments, because that's really what it comes down to, is just make the little minor adjustments. And
I mean, granted, they were going up against Carolina's defense,
which we were just talking about being on right there on a top 5 kind of defense.
You mean they were just going up against Luke Kuechly?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
So I mean, take it with a grain of salt. It's not a good sample size.
Yeah.
But they just the The passes just looked off.
And the problem is that you watch week 1 and you're like, it's like a repeat of last year. And,
yeah, without Zeke.
And that's I think that's why Cowboys fans are like, what the fuck is going on here? Mm-hmm. So, again, minor adjustments. I think the Cowboys will be fine. Alvin, you're Dyer.
My Dyer, piggybacking off of Drew here. This Cowboys offense as a whole, like from the play callings to how the act look to giving up on the run early, like only giving Zeke only 15 touches, and then not adjusting after the half, and then not being creative with these so-called new weapons that you got.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and one of the things that I don't think I touched on earlier when we talked Cowboys is what I touched on about offensive coordinators and like the Jets knowing what the Lions were doing. Like when the Lions put in LeGarrette Blount when he was healthy in that game, they knew they were handing the ball off to him. When the Cowboys put in Tavon Austin, the Panthers knew that they were going to try to use him like in some gadget kind of jet sweep. Like you have to, if you're going to play Austin, you can't just have him in to run these trick plays because it's just like the Wildcat. Like, remember when the Wildcat was a fad? Like when that happens, like defenses are smart enough to realize, okay, well, we can play man coverage because we don't expect him to have to throw a great pass, and we can just blitz the box. And so it's you have to use, if you're going to use these guys, you have to put them into more than the one formation.
Yeah, you can't make it so predictable. You gotta hide the scheme, man. You gotta hide it. Like, and it just looked so horrible. And even Jerry Jones hyped it up like, oh yeah, with these new gadgets and everything's going to be different with these new play calls, and didn't see nothing, man.
Same old. Well, my Dyer is very similar to y'all's. Is a team that just needs to figure their life out offensively. The Detroit Lions are my Dyer. So I've railed on Jim Bob Cooter, and I think that if week 2 looks anything like week 1, they need to fire him. They need to get a new coordinator in there, somebody creative, because Jim Bob Cooter's drawing out plays in crayon. The Jets, again, like I said, came out and said they just knew everything that the Lions were going to do. Nothing surprised them. It was all the same stuff from last year. The special teams was bad. They gave up a couple big returns. They gave up a punt return touchdown, which really helped put the game away. After the Lions, they tied it 17-all, and after their first possession, and then they stopped the Jets. And then they had the pick 6, which gave them the Jets 24-17 lead. And then they gave up the punt return, which was the 31-17 lead. So they Matt Prater, who'd been almost automatic in a dome at home, missed 2 field goals. So like every facet of the game was pretty bad. People were trying to hype up Darnold, and he had a good game. He just, the one touchdown he threw to Robbie Anderson should have been intercepted. Robbie Anderson had to steal the ball away from the cornerback. He underthrew it. The cornerback just didn't make a play on it. And props to Robbie Anderson for making his quarterback look good. The D-line, once Ziggy Ansah got hurt, they just got torched. Gave up the big run to Isaiah Crowell. Gave up some big runs to Powell. And they didn't look like a defense who was really schemed correctly. And I mean, I know Ziggy would help the pass rush, but he's not going to help as much on the run defense because he was on there when they were getting burned at the beginning of the game. So every facet of that game, the Lions lost. And it was relatively close. And then the Jets scored 31 straight points in the third quarter. Like, in the third quarter, they scored 31 points. One on an interception return, one on a punt return, and one on a 65-yard run. There were some minor adjustments. Like, I think that the final score of the game doesn't necessarily mean that the Lions need to blow it up, that they're going to be completely trash all year. Just like with the Cowboys looking bad offensively, like, a few small adjustments can make a huge difference going forward. So I have to rail on my Detroit Lions here for this week and last night's showing. Now let's prophesize. Alvin, I'll let you lead off the crystal ball prophecies.
I'm not 100% sure if this is a prophecy. We was just reminded of this today. Triple G going for that win against Canelo. I think it's just obvious.
Yeah, obvious.
Obvious.
About obvious.
I'm just saying. Triple G is better.
I don't know, man. I mean, we're gonna see a fight regardless.
I mean, is he taking PEDs again?
He's not taking He was never taking PEDs.
He ate some bad Mexican meat.
Oh,
it's been known to happen. It's not the first time this has happened. As far as
he went down to Mexico City and had some beef and.
Gotta stay away from that Mexican beef.
Yeah, dog.
But
for
it
real.
tastes so good.
Is it going the distance?
The first one went the distance, right?
Yeah.
I could see it going the distance still.
If it goes distance, Canelo's gonna win. Isn't that how the first one went?
No.
That's how it's a draw.
Oh yeah, it was a draw. Because I didn't watch the first fight, and I'm probably not gonna watch this one either. I might. I don't know.
We're gonna get a text like Saturday night. You want to come over?
I bought the fight.
I bought the fight. You want to come? Okay.
Got pizza.
Easy. Like, yeah, just tell Alvin to bring my bottle of Patron.
Another diet for me this week.
Andrew, what's your prophecy?
My prophecy is a little off. I mean, this is a whole NFL show, but take to the NBA, of course.
Oh.
I see you're gonna hear word about Joakim Noah trade talks to Minnesota. with Tibbs getting the band back together.
They got Luol Deng.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves, that's what they're calling them.
Luol Deng, what's his name? Derrick Rose.
Taj
Gibson, Jimmy Butler.
Sneak peek into next week's show, we might talk a little Anthony Davis because it looks like he might end up becoming a Laker after this season because the rumor mill is turning, but the Timberwolves are a real thing, and I don't know what the hell Tibbs is doing. My prophecy, though...
These guys work hard for me. I'm going to keep them working.
These guys...
my prophecy is that this weekend in the NFL, you will see every rookie quarterback that was picked in the first round getting playing time. Josh Allen's probably starting.
You think Baker's going to start, or they're going to throw
Lamar has the packages that the Ravens are using, so he'll probably play. I think with how bad the Cardinals' offense looked in Sam Bradford, I think at some point this week you're going to see Josh Rosen. I do think that the Browns play the Saints this week. And I don't see the Saints having a similar performance as this last weekend. So Hugh Jackson might start feeling some fire to put in Baker, at least for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Even if it's trash time, and they're all getting some play time.
Yeah, and then Darnold is already starting. So all 5 first-round quarterbacks you'll see play some. And, for some of them, it might end up them starting the rest of the year. Josh Allen, if if he doesn't start the rest of the year, the Bills need to just sell their team and get just fold up shop. Rosen, if things go poorly with the Cardinals, might as well spark some life into that team. Same thing with the Browns. You picked this guy number 1 overall. You want to see what Taylor can do, but if he follows up this week's performance with another dud, and Hugh Jackson needs to just see, they have to see what they have with them. So, Lamar Jackson's going to be the one quarterback out of this class that doesn't start this year, because unless Joe Flacco gets hurt, Flacco has that job for this year and probably next. And then after that, it'll probably be the Lamar Jackson show up in Baltimore. But that's my prophecy. And that was this week's Benchwarmers podcast. We'll be back next week with more Week 2 NFL stuff. And like I hinted at, probably a little bit of NBA and touch on some other things going on in the world of sports. I have been Casey Coggins with Alvin Hebert.
Back at it.
And Andrew Lira.
Don't forget my Patron.
We are band.